So coming up this weekend is actually a very big weekend of fights because not only do we have that stacked UFC pay-per-view headlined by Duplessis and Chimaev, we have this relatively stacked PFL World Tournament Finals card, as well as a couple really banger regional events as well. LFA is putting on a great card. I believe it's LFA 214. It's going to be a great weekend of fights, and now actually with the UFC announcing that they are going to be moving their platform over to Paramount Plus and CBS, it looks like PFL is potentially going to be the face of MMA on ESPN. So it could be relatively interesting to see how things work out between those. Now, of course, last night I did do an article on this on the We Want Picks website. If you did want to sign up, use my code ARTEM for 10% off. And aside from that as well, Contender Series is here. I am breaking down the Contender Series on my channel, on the We Want Picks channel. I've also started my own second channel called Artem at Home. Really would like to get that to 100 subscribers. I would appreciate it if you guys checked that out. That's kind of where I give my more opinion pieces, relatively less serious predictions as well, and kind of stuff like that. So let's get into it. I think this will be a relatively quick picks video. Now, it won't be as fast as the 13-minute video I did on the last card, but it's still going to be relatively fast. And I've got to admit something to you guys. I haven't broken down this fight because it was added on short notice, and I only started my tape study for this card 3 days ago, so I'm sorry. But we're going to start with Kendly St. versus Chris Mixan. This is a wrestler versus striker matchup. Chris Mixan is a boxer, and a good boxer at that. He's coming off a massive win as well. He knocked out Joey Hart in the first round, and Joey Hart, of course, was on the Contender Series last year. He kind of fights like Alex Caceres, but at 170 pounds. Went the distance with Benjamin Bennett, who's a very good prospect, in my opinion, and also now a bare-knuckle boxer, which is interesting, but Mixan himself, very good boxer, and I think that he is actually pretty good all around. But unfortunately for him, I think he's actually running into a stylistically bad matchup for him, because Kendly St. Louis is a good wrestler. Not only is he a good wrestler, he's coming off a huge win himself, and he's 3-0 in the PFL promotion. He beat Muhammad Berkamov by submission. Very good win there, and he also does have a couple other PFL Challenger Series victories under his belt as well, which I guess is kind of like the Contender Series for the PFL. It just never really took off, and nobody really ever cared about it that much. But Kendly St. Louis is very big for the weight class. I think him being a wrestler is stylistically a bad matchup for Mixan, but Mixan's a very talented boxer. I will give him that credit, but I think that Kendly St. Louis can go out there and out-wrestle him to a decision victory. And now we move up to a very interesting fight, not really because of the matchup, in my opinion, because of the odds. Renat Khavalov shouldn't be minus 700. I'm just going to say it right now. Maybe he does go out there and dominate this matchup because he is a very, very talented fighter, but he didn't look that good in his last fight, and he was minus 2,000 in this fight against Clever Fernandez. I think the odds were too wide in that one in hindsight, obviously, but minus 2,000 in MMA, that is odds inflation right there. But here's the thing about Khavalov. I have said it before, I'll say it again. He's really good. I do believe in this guy. He's a Khabib guy. He fought for Khabib's promotion, Gorilla FC, which became Eagle FC when Khabib took it over. And he's been the champion for them for a long time. And he's kind of moved on. And now he's moved on to the PFL, and he is taking on Cage Fury FC's own Vilson Ndregjoni. If I'm not mistaken, he was a champion for Cage Fury FC. Yes, he was. And I believe he fought and beat former Dana White's Contender Series fighter Ashik Ajim, who was on the Contender Series, I want to say in 2022. And he beat him and knocked him out, which is pretty good. And he also beat Trent Girdham from New Zealand, former Ryzen fighter as well, by the way. But the way that we've seen him lose in the past is him getting out-wrestled. The thing about Vilson Ndregjoni, though, is he's a big guy for this weight class. He is a very big bantamweight. His takedown defense overall is pretty good. Now, I don't know if it's going to be good enough to stop everything from Khavalov. That's the problem. But I think that he is going to present a genuine threat on the feet against Renat Khavalov. Khavalov is going to need to get that wrestling going, and he needs to get it going early, because otherwise, genuinely, he is going to be in there with a guy that does have the power to knock him out. But, of course, I still do have to pick Renat Khavalov. I do think Khavalov wins this fight. I just can't justify a minus 700 price tag after his last performance against Clever Fernandez, in which he didn't actually look very good. It was a very bad Khavalov performance, in my opinion, but I think he does win this fight by decision. Sabrinna de Sousa versus Saray Orozco. I did actually pick Saray Orozco as an underdog in her last fight, and it was obviously a mistake. It was a bad pick. She lost to Alara Joanne, but I guess I rolled the dice and I tried to make something happen. Sabrinna Sousa, 3-0, minus 1200. Once again, I wouldn't be betting minus 1200 on a 3-0 fighter, but she's good. 3-0 in a professional, and also she has gone on and done many, many great things in the world of amateur MMA, and she actually has a win over New Zealand's only female fighter in the UFC as well, I should add, sorry. Here, and she is going to be fighting Luana Carolina, but I wanted to shout that out because I'm from New Zealand and I'm excited about it. But Sabrinna Sousa, she is legit. She's a very talented grappler. Saray Orozco is just a come forward boxer. Doesn't really offer that much else, in my opinion. I think that Sabrinna Sousa takes her down and chokes her out. Biaggio Ali Walsh. I mean, here's the thing about Biaggio. He had a very, very bad performance in his last fight, but I will give him some credit because he is coming back in there, and he's coming back in there quite quickly. He lost only a couple of weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, give or take. He just looked bad. I mean, I know I did pick him to win the fight. I did pick him to win with confidence, but my goodness, he looked bad. It doesn't look like he knows how to grapple, and that is unfortunate. But he's not taking on a grappler. From the very short sort of like things that I was able to see on Grundy, it doesn't look like he's a grappler. I actually said on the We Want Picks article that I wrote, I'm picking Biaggio Ali Walsh with an unknown level of confidence. Because that's what it is. It's a 2-1 fighter versus a 3-1 fighter. You can't pick any sort of matchup like this with confidence. I'm still going to go with Ali Walsh, but it's just like one of those ones where it's like, yeah, I don't know about that. And there's another one. Very weird matchmaking from our friends at the PFL. I think we've moved on to the main card now. Juliana Velsaquez is a former Bellator champion. She was 12-0 at one point in her career, and actually did have very good wins at the time. A win over Alimale McFarlane at the time was a very good victory, but then she was kind of exposed by Liz Carmouche with somewhat poor grappling, and then Liz Carmouche, would you believe it, did it again. And then, would you believe it, she did it again. She lost to Liz Carmouche 3 times in a row, took a step down in competition, made a mistake against Shakalova and paid for it and got submitted in the first round. Now, I don't think that Shakalova is going to submit her again in the first round. And yes, you just heard that correctly. They are doing Velsaquez versus Shakalova back-to-back for Juliana Velsaquez. No, the matchmaking doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. But I do think Shakalova, now that she's got that win over Velsaquez in the form of a submission, I think she's going to realize that Velsaquez has that grappling disadvantage against her. And also the thing about Shakalova is I think she's got to be a little bit taller than 5'2". Like maybe she's 5'4". I just don't think she's 5'2". But Velsaquez, she's kind of like at this point in her career, nearly 39 years old. She's quite slow. She's quite ploddy. She's a striker. Shakalova should take her down. Shakalova, I wouldn't even really consider wrestling being like the main part of her game. She mostly does kind of pull off the boxing of ear. So what she's doing, she's just shadow boxing in there. Like she'll just throw punches, even though her opponents are out of range. That kind of is Shakalova's entire game. I think it was her fight against Aspen Ladd is a true ear martial arts battle. I think the accuracy in that fight might be the lowest striking accuracy in MMA history. But Shakalova, I think if she comes forward and does go for takedowns against Velsaquez, I think she's going to get them. She's got the confidence of the sub in the last fight. I think she submits her. I'd be surprised if it's in the first round, but I think that Shakalova does find the sub at one point in the fight. And now we're truly onto the main card. Mads Burnell taking on Robert Watley. I've been vocal about this in the past, and I'm going to say it again. I don't like Mads Burnell at 155 pounds. Now, if something come out and it was like he was really, really killing himself to make 145 pounds, I would kind of retract my statements. But Mads Burnell was a good featherweight. A very good featherweight at that. He was a guy that was maybe at one point actually going to go out there and get a title shot at 145 pounds in Bellator, but he just kind of ran into Adam Borix at the time, who then went on to have a very bad performance against Pitbull. But I do digress. He's moved up to 155 pounds, and he did it for the first time against Michael DeFort. I thought he looked really bad. He beat Clay Collard, which is a good win, but once again, I thought he looked really bad. He lost to Alvin Espinoza, who I've been saying for years is fraudulent. So once again, he beat Alvin Espinoza. Wait. I don't know how to read the colors. And then he got smoked by JJ Wilson on the ground, but JJ Wilson's a good grappler. The point is, that I'm trying to make is Mads Burnell at 155 pounds. I don't like it. He's too small for the weight class. He is mostly a striker, but he does have a lot of BJJ to back it up. But he's taking on a guy, in my opinion, that just isn't going to be quite as fast as him on the feet. Watley is a big 5'9" lightweight. Don't get me wrong about that. And he is a wrestler. He is a veteran. I believe he actually has fought in the PFL before. It was a few years ago. And then kind of since then, he's kind of been going up and down. He actually beat Marquez Forrest in a wrestler versus wrestler matchup, which he looked good in. But I just don't know if he's going to be able to take down Mads Burnell over and over and over again. The thing about JJ Wilson is JJ Wilson's grappling is elite. This is a guy that beat Mansour Barnawi on the ground, right? Robert Watley, the level of competition isn't quite what Mads Burnell has been fighting, but this is a very low confidence pick on the Mads Burnell side. I think Mads Burnell does kind of have the better hands in this fight. He's got that featherweight skill set if you really wanted to put it like that, but I don't love the pick. I'm not super confident in it, I will be honest. And now we have Marcelo Alves taking on Justin Wetzell. If you told me that these were the two guys that were going to be at the 135-pound finals, I could not have seen it happening. I picked PFL bantamweight so bad this year, it was embarrassing. I don't really know how else to say it, because of course, I picked Kasum Kasimov to beat Justin Wetzell, the minus 1200 favorite. And then I actually did pick Wetzell to beat Mando Gutierrez, because I don't think Gutierrez is that good. But Marcelo Alves, on the other hand, I picked Leandro Higo and bet on Leandro Higo to beat him. And then Marcelo Alves beat him. And then Jake Hadley, I picked Jake Hadley to beat him because I thought that Jake Hadley, after that first round of fights with Kasum Kasimov out of the equation, was the clear favorite to win the entire thing, to win the 500k, to win the bout. Never mind that. Marcelo Alves is probably going to be your champion at 135 pounds this year. I mean, maybe you could award it to Wetzell because I'm picking Alves in this fight. I think Alves is a guy that could make 125. He's so small for this weight class, but his takedown defense outside of the Khavalov fight, my goodness, has it improved. It's looked so much better in the last couple of fights than it did against Khavalov. And on the feet, his striking's amazing. His boxing is ruthless for a guy that's so small. He hits really hard. And the thing about Wetzell is, despite him being a lot bigger than Alves, I'm not 100% sure if Wetzell's takedown offense ability is good enough to be able to out-wrestle Alves when Hadley couldn't and Leandro Higo couldn't. But the thing is, I really could see Wetzell winning this matchup as well with a wrestling-based approach. The thing about Wetzell, though, is he isn't really a wrestler. Like, he does kind of want to spend a lot of time striking on the feet, or at least that's what he was doing when he was fighting for the regional scene. And when he does strike, he doesn't necessarily throw a lot of volume, but when he does land with a lot of power, which could be interesting because Alves, he didn't have to fight a powerful striker by any means in the PFL run that he's gone on so far. But I do think that Alves is going to go out there and land the hands on Wetzell, despite being a lot smaller. And I think he's just a lot more powerful. So I kind of like that power out of Marcelo Alves in this fight. And now we've got it. We've got the underdog pick, guys. I have been kind of like riding Liz Carmouche's train for a very long time. Please don't take that in the wrong way. But I've been picking Liz Carmouche to win these fights all the way, except for her fight against Tyler Santos. I did pick Santos to win, but I have been right about so many Liz Carmouche fights in my time on this YouTube channel that it kind of feels like there's got to be a time when she's going to lose. But that's not why I'm picking her, obviously. I want to talk about this matchup in particular because it's important to bring up. Liz Carmouche, of course, is 41 years old. She was the other half of the first ever women's fight in the UFC against Ronda Rousey. She fought for that vacant title at 135 pounds many, many years ago in 2013, of course. But the thing about Carmouche is recently, since she moved down to 125 pounds, what she has struggled against are larger grapplers than her. And you could even look at the Deanna Bennett fight. Deanna Bennett was massive. Deanna Bennett actually missed weight for this fight. She was able to take down Carmouche in moments and find control. She was actually on her way to potentially losing the decision against Kana Watanabe, who was once again like a bigger grappler than her. And she didn't really struggle with Loredana that much, but Tyler Santos was able to find some success against her, and Santos is a big lady for 125 pounds too. And that's what Gina Bishop is. Gina Bishop is a multiple-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion. I know she's listed at 5'4". She's big for the weight class, man. Like, she, like, kind of has, like, a lot of size to her for a lady at 5'4" at 125 pounds. Like, she is good. She beat Kana Watanabe in what was a banger. It was actually a close fight, a very close fight, but it was a banger. She went to a split decision with Tyler Santos. Ekaterina Shakalova, she submitted her. We just ignore this. I mean, Chiva's going to do this to everyone in this division. But in this matchup, it really just comes down to that size for me. The size and the grappling. Gina Bishop is a much larger grappler than Carmouche. Now, I think you could turn it around multiple different ways, though. And you could say a couple things. The first thing that you're definitely going to bring up is Gina Bishop's striking defense. It doesn't exist. She doesn't have any. She just never learned it, I guess. And it's too late to learn now. You're 11 fights in, fighting for a world title. You're just not going to learn striking defense in time. So she's not going to have that. And another thing that is a concern of mine is the cardio of Gina Bishop. It's not very good. But in theory, if Gina Bishop can go out there against Liz Carmouche and land a takedown and control her, like Deanna Bennett, a much lesser grappler in my opinion than Bishop, the world champion, by the way, could do. In theory, Gina Bishop's not going to waste that much cardio holding Liz Carmouche down. So let me know what you think about this one in the comments below. As I said, I've bet on Liz Carmouche. I think I had an eye-watering amount of money on Liz Carmouche to win inside the distance against Alara Joanne. I think BetSam can account to this because I sent the bet to BetSam and he was like, never do that again. And to be fair, I haven't been sports betting for a very long time, but that was one of my big victories was Carmouche inside the distance. But anyways, I do digress. I think that Gina Bishop is going to take her down and probably ride out 3 rounds against her. No, Bishop is the pick. 9%, only 9%, guys. But that's a big dog. I think she gets it done. Now, Gadzhi Rabadanov, I do think he does beat Alfie Davis. I do think he does repeat as a champion. He was the only, if I'm not mistaken, the only champion of the PFL last year. I think I just ruined my Samsung watch. No, we're good. He's the only champion of last year to return to the season. I think a lot of the other champions were kind of like re-signed to their PFL super fight deals, and now they're just getting iced and will probably just end up signing to the UFC at one point, to be honest. But Rabadanov, he come back, he won the championship, I believe. Was it against Primus? He won the championship? Yeah, it was. And then he come back, he knocked out Kevin Lee, which was just hilarious matchmaking. And he's taken on Alfie Davis. Alfie Davis fights like Wonder Boy. I don't really know what else to say. He just does. He is, I believe, a English multiple-time kickboxing national champion. And I could be incorrect about this, but I think he's a European kickboxing champion. And I don't know if he ever won the world championships, but like he's a world-class striker. He's one of the best strikers in the world at one point in pure kickboxing. He transferred that over Wonder Boy style into MMA. Thing about Davis, though, the way that Davis loses his fight is when he has to deal with someone that's going to grapple against him. Alexander Shabalai, very talented striker, but a guy that will wrestle quite a lot. Actually, Shabalai was the one shooting the takedowns against Usman Nurmagomedov in their matchup. Mansur Banawi, very good grappler, and then you could probably go down a little bit more than that. But the guys that have given the problems are the guys that are trying to wrestle him as well as strike. Now, you could rebut that with saying he beat Brent Primus, which he did, but I think that Gadzhi Rabadanov is a much more better guy that can mix in the boxing with the wrestling. I know he's not the biggest guy for 155 pounds, but he doesn't look small for the division at all, in my opinion. He does pack a lot of power. Recently, he's been getting the KOs. Now, that wasn't really something that he was doing, prior to 2024, but Rabadanov, I do think against Davis, if he fights a smart fight and just doesn't strike from range against him, he should be pretty safe. He should be able to out-wrestle Davis in this matchup. He should be able to go out there, get some takedowns, and maybe finish the fight on the feet in like the 3rd round or something like that. I think Rabadanov wins. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.